Hello everyone, welcome back to the Clara CFO Group channel. This video is coming to you in January, and January can be a little bit of a busy time for accountants. It can be a busy time for business owners because we have a lot of deadlines and requirements on us. One of the big ones is 1099 and W-2 reporting, which is January 31st deadline. But this video is all about 1099, specifically for non-employee compensation. So that is what this video is about. I'm going to help you guys understand what is going on with the 1099 NEC, which is the form that we're going to be talking about, and help you try to figure out how to accumulate all this information and report it in time so that the IRS is not mad at you and your contractors get what they need. All right. So this video is all about what you need to know for 1099s for non-employee compensation. Okay, so first of all, I want to say, why do we have this? Why do we have this? Why are we filing reports for contractors who are not even our employees? We're doing the W-2s for our employees, so why does the IRS even care? You might not care when you get a 1099, so why should we care about giving people 1099s? Well, really, it comes down to the fact that there is a huge tax gap in income that's reported, and this is one of the ways that the IRS is trying to monitor and hopefully capture back some of the earnings that are happening between businesses and between independent contractors and businesses when you don't have the structure of a W-2 wage, okay, and you don't have employees. So there's a lot of under the table that happens, and the IRS is basically saying, hey, we want our money and we want that income reported so that we know if somebody is kind of trying to get around taxes, okay? So that is kind of the whole point of these forms, is to hopefully report to the IRS really what you've paid out, so also they know who's been earning money, okay? So that's really kind of where a lot of this stems from. So I really don't see this type of reporting, even though you might say, why the heck do we do it? I don't see it going away. If anything, they might get more and more aggressive on actually cracking down on this stuff. So the first thing that you need to know is that 1099s are due January 31st. I started out there and I need to reiterate January 31st, January 31st, January 31st. It doesn't matter what year, January 31st is when you need to report for who you've paid for this non-employee compensation for the prior year, okay? So what you need to do is you need to look at your records and decide who needs a 1099. And then you need to prepare one and send it to them. Now, there's lots of services that will do that actual preparation and sending, but you as the business owner or as the bookkeeper or as the person in charge of the accounting has to do this process of doing the search in order to know who should even get a 1099. Okay, and we issue 1099s to people who've provided services in our business. And I'm saying this specifically for the 1099 NEC, non-employee compensation. We're not going to get into the other miscellaneous and Ks and all the other 1099 forms. This is specifically about the 1099 NEC. Now, all those other forms are due as well on January 31st, but this video is focusing on that really big one that I think trips up a lot of people. And that's what you've paid out to contractors. Remember that an individual who's provided work for you, or even a company that has provided work for you, some type of service, that could be considered non-employee compensation, and those people probably need a 1099. So what it looks like, just very, very practically, is like if you paid a graphic designer $2,000 in the year over 4 checks for $500 each, then you need to issue a paper document or an electronic document that basically says, I paid you $2,000, and it's on a 1099 NEC, okay? And then you report that and the summary of all your other payments to the IRS, okay? So they will get a copy of that, but the important part is that you are keeping records and you know like who you've paid during the year, okay? So that's how we know who needs a 1099. All right, so who gets a 1099? Individuals and businesses that provide services to your company. But there are some caveats. So they need to provide services over $600. So if you paid that graphic designer once for $500, they don't need a 1099. Then the next caveat is that if you had services from a corporation, so anybody who's a C Corp or taxed as a C Corp, S Corp, then you do not have to provide them a 1099. Pretty nice. So how do you know? How do you know whether or not somebody is a corporation? Well, you request a document from them called a W-9. You've probably seen them before. You've probably been asked for one before, but it's basically just a request for taxpayer information. So when you work with somebody, you say, hey, can I get a W-9 from you? And they say, sure. And they send you the W-9. Then you can put it in your accounting system and you will know what their tax ID number is. And you will also know what type of corporation or entity type they are. So if it says sole proprietor or LLC and it doesn't have a corporation status, then you need to provide them with a 1099 if you pay them over $600. Okay? So the corporation thing is like, check the box, you don't have to worry about it, blah. That's kind of nice. I have people reaching out to me right now and saying, hey, do I need to provide you a 1099? Do I need your W-9? And I send the W-9, but I say, hey, by the way, you don't have to send me a 1099 because I am an LLC taxed as an S Corp. So you don't have to worry about it. So yes, even if you are an LLC taxed as an S Corp and not an entity type of an S Corp, you can still, you do not need to receive a 1099, or if the person that you're paying was in that situation, you don't need to give them a 1099, okay? How do we know what to report? Because that's the big thing. How do we know who we've paid during the year? That seems kind of onerous and kind of scary, Hannah. Well, this is where good bookkeeping really comes in handy. So I'm going to say it if I haven't said it already. I know I have, but you need good bookkeeping, okay? If you are paying contractors, you need to keep track of that stuff, and you need it ideally in an accounting system. I recommend QuickBooks Online. It's my favorite for small business accounting. There is a link and with a discount in the description box below if you want to check it out. If you don't have it, this is the right time to do it. Go ahead and get it installed. And when you're setting up a vendor in QuickBooks Online, you can check a little box that says track for 1099 payments. Even if you don't have all of their other information, you can just say, oh yeah, that's somebody I need to keep an eye on. That's somebody I need to keep an eye on, you know? And then at the end of the year, it makes the reporting much, much easier. So if you don't have that though, what do you do? Well, you've got a couple options. So ideally, you would have paid them separately, or you would have had them like in a system. Like I have all my contractors in Gusto. I use all Gusto to pay all my contractors. So at the end of the year, they do the 1099s for me. It's very, very easy. But I still had to look into my accounting system and say, was there anything that slipped by me? Was there anything that I didn't pay through Gusto that maybe I should have? I should have set up a vendor there. Is there any other kind of services that were rendered to me? And, you know, I thought about it and I said, well, yeah, I did pay like Nikki Roush for the sales maven. So I looked at hers. And this is the other thing that we don't have to worry about for 1099s is I paid her with a credit card. So if you pay a vendor with a credit card, you don't have to worry about it. Those payments end up on a 1099K and they get reported separately. So if you paid a vendor with a credit card, you don't have to include that. What you need to include are cash payments or check payments or ACH, anything that's like coming out of your bank account. Those are the payments that you need to include. So you do need to do kind of a line-by-line search through your accounting system. Now, what is really helpful is when you have your accounting system set up well and you know that the bookkeeping's been done well throughout the years, you can go to certain line items. So let's say you have a professional services line item or an accounting line item, or maybe a marketing line item where maybe you have your graphic designer and your web designer and you have other things like that. You can do a search and you can say, who did I pay? And that's your big question when you go in there. Who did I pay? Who did I pay for services? And so you're going to be able to look through your P&L. Obviously, you know, you're probably not looking in your utilities. You're not looking in some of your, you know, your software. You don't have to issue a 1099 for software. You're looking for services. An actual person did something for you. That's what you want to be searching for. Okay. And then once you get that list, then you try to accumulate how much you paid them throughout the whole year. So again, this is where really great bookkeeping makes this very, very, very simple. A lot of times you can run a 1099 report very easily. And like QuickBooks will even say, if it's been paid with a credit card, it doesn't even show up. Like if it's paid with a credit card, we exclude that. If it's under $600, we exclude that. Okay. So these are the types of things that will save you time come January if you're doing things properly throughout the year. But if you haven't done things properly throughout the year and you just are scrambling to figure it out, you can look through your bank statements and you can see were there any checks that I wrote, were there any vendors and ACH payments maybe that you made to other people, and you can do a very manual search. And if you need to, just set up a separate spreadsheet and say vendor, amount paid, date paid, and just start accumulating all of it, okay? And then once you get the totals for each vendor, that's those amounts you'll put on each of the 1099s. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of a decision tree that I do when I'm looking for each vendor, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say, who have you paid services for? And that's what we just talked about. And then you list all of them. Then you can start weeding through the criteria. And this is the order that I would do this, okay? The first is I would say, have you paid them $600 or no? And this is where you have a little decision tree. Okay, if you pay them more than $600, you need to keep going. If you pay them less than $600, then toss them. You don't have to give them a 1099, okay? Now, if you got their W-9 and you still have their tax information, keep it in your system because you might pay them more than that next year and you want to have their information on file. So then if they are over $600, then we say, are they paid with a credit card? If they're paid with a credit card, don't have to worry about it. Toss those out. So then you're left with over $600 payments to credit cards. And this is where we say those two things are fairly easy to find out from your accounting system pretty quickly. Or if you're looking through your bank statement, then obviously it wasn't paid with a credit card if you paid it on your bank statement, okay? So this is, use a little bit of logic there. So when you get into that situation of it's over $600, it wasn't paid with a credit card, you wrote checks or you did an ACH, then you go to, are they a corporation? Because you might have only 3 vendors that really get down to that situation. And then you might find that 2 of them are S Corps, and then you only have to issue 1 1099. So you could have potentially started with like 20 vendors, but then now you're down to just a couple once you kind of weed these things out, okay? So save yourself some time by doing this little bit of, filtering out. And then once you get to the bottom, then you can say, okay, now I know maybe it's these 3 vendors that I need to look at and I don't have any of their tax information. So then you request those W-9s. So you request 3 W-9s for those 3 vendors. And then I'm not saying get 3 W-9s from them. Let me fix that. You request a W-9 from each of the 3 vendors. Okay. And then you will find out their tax information and then you will be able to issue them a 1099. And then when you get that W-9, you can look at it and you can save all that information in your accounting system. If it has the ability to do that, it should in a vendor profile. Essentially, if it's an S Corp or a C Corp, you can uncheck that box. If you're in QuickBooks Online, you can uncheck the box where you don't have to track it for 1099 payments. But if it's anything else other than that, then you do need to get them a 1099 for reporting. All right, well, I hope that is helpful to you as you go and you're preparing 1099s for your business. I will have another video about tips and tricks to sort of make it easier. If maybe this was a horrible process for you, let's figure out how to make it better for this next year, okay? So that video will be coming up shortly. All right, you guys, well, thank you so much for watching. I know this content is just so exciting. So anyways, thank you for making it here if you did, and please give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful to you or if you learned something, and please also feel free to share this with other people in your business community because this information is missed very, very often and people get penalized for this all the time. So let's avoid those penalties. Let's make the IRS happy, give them what they need, and let's get on with our lives. All right. Well, thank you so much, you guys. All right. Bye.